Welcome to the session on ancient Indian life science. As already discussed, ancient Indian life science is a life science that is explained in our Indian literature, especially we are dealing with the life science as depicted in Samskrita literature. So in the present session, we are discussing about the Vriksha-Ayurveda, as a continuation of what we discussed in the previous session. Vriksha-Ayurveda, as already mentioned, it is botany. The modern terms Vriksha-Ayurveda partook of agriculture and botany. It was a combination of the two. It was combination of the two, but different from both in its emphasis and characteristics. It is different from both in its emphasis and characteristics. The discipline of arbory horticulture came near to it, but again there was difference in their approach. Actually, in India, in Bharata, arbory horticulture under the name of Upavana Vinoda issued out of Vriksha-Ayurveda as its transformation. So Vriksha-Ayurveda, we had already discussed a lot of things. So what is botany? It means science of plants. Botany means science of plants. As all of us know, fauna does not exist without flora. Fauna does not exist without flora. Science of plants exists with human being. Science of plants exists with human being. We know that Vedas are the earliest literary records of the world, and even the knowledge of plant science is observed in the Vedas. So we are very much aware of it. We know that Vedas are the earliest literary records of the world, and even the knowledge of plant science is observed in Vedas. Yajna therapy found in Vedas also includes samits, to particular homa and havans. Samit to particular homa and havans. Even yajna therapy, in yajna, different samits are mentioned. So in yajna therapy also we come across the plants. In Vedas we come across the plants. In different aspects we come across the plants, right? Even the usage of plants to cure different diseases are also observed in Atharvaveda. So botany means science of plants, as fauna does not exist without flora. Science of plants exists with the human being. Okay. We know that Vedas are the earliest literary records of the world, and even the knowledge of plant science is observed. The knowledge of plant science is observed in the Vedas. Yajna therapy found in Vedas also includes the samidhas. So you'll be knowing for 9 samidhas, that means for the Navagraha plants, 9 Navagraha plants are there. All of them are used in Navagraha Homa as the samidha. So such as Arka, then Ashwatha, Palasha, Durva, Darbha, Apamarga, Shani, Khadira, etc. These are the different samits which are being used in yajna therapy. So today we can discuss further about the plant classification. Even in modern botany also, we have the plant classification in Indian botany. There is Vriksha-Ayurveda also, we can find plant classification. Oshadhayaha panchadha khyataha lata gulmascha shakhinaha Padapaha prasarascheti. ओषध्यः पञ्चधा ख्याताः ओषध्यः पञ्चधा ख्याताः लता गुल्मश्च शाखिनः लता गुल्मश्च शाखिनः पादपाः प्रसराश्चेति. It is mentioned in Arka Prakasha. So the 5 types of plant classifications are mentioned in Arka Prakasha as lata, that is creeper, gulma, those that have many branches, that is shakhinaha. Shakhinaha means those that have many branches. Gulma, such as the bushes. Padapa, vata, that is tree. Vata, ashwatha, Ficus bengalensis, banyan tree. Then Ficus religiosa, ashwatha. These are all the padapas. Prasara, kantaka. So these 5 kinds, that is lata, gulma, shakhinaha, padapa, prasara. This is the 5 types of plant classification as mentioned in Arka Prakasha. In Samarangana Sutradhara, it is mentioned that Udbhijja panchadha bhutva nirdishta sthavaraschate. Udbhijja panchadha bhutva nirdishta sthavaraschate. Druma balyascha gulmascha Vamsha satranajatayaha. Udbhijya panchada bhutva nirdishtaha sthavarascha. Sthavara jangama. Sthavara means which are not moving, that means the plants. Te druma valyascha gulmascha vamshaha satranajatayaha. This Vriksha Ayurveda, Upavana Vinoda, Ayurveda, Rasayana Tika, Bhera Samhita, Harita Samhita, Charaka Samhita, Chakrapani Datta Tika, Manusmriti, etc. gives the mention of the following. The following are being mentioned in Vriksha Ayurveda, Upavana Vinoda, Ayurveda, Rasayana Tika, Bhera Samhita, Harita Samhita, Charaka Samhita, Chakrapani Datta Tika, Manusmriti, etc. That is वनस्पति द्रुमलता गुल्माः पादपजातयः बीजात् काण्डात् तथा कन्दात् तज्जन्म त्रिविधं विदुः वनस्पति द्रुमलता गुल्माः पादपजातयः वनस्पति द्रुम लता गुल्माः पादपजातयः पादपजातयः वनस्पति द्रुम लता गुल्माः बीजात् काण्डात् तथा कन्दात् तज्जन्म त्रिविधं विदुः. Its birth is through bija, kanda and kanda. Bija, kanda and kanda. Bija means seed. Kanda means stem. Kanda means tubers. By them, its janma, its birth takes place. So the varieties padapajati plant classification is Vanaspati, Druma, Lata, Gulma. So in different texts it is mentioned like this. Then in Vriksha Ayurveda, it is mentioned, Vriksha Ayurveda written by Surapala. It is mentioned that Te Vanaspatayah Prokta Vina Pushpai Phalanti Ye Drumaschate Nigaditaha Saha Pushpai Phalanti Ye Prasaranti Pratanairyastalataः Parikirtitaः Bahustambha Vitapino Yete Gulmaः Prakirtitaः. So in Vriksha Ayurveda, the 4 types of plant classification is being observed: Vanaspati, Druma, Lata and Gulma. What is Vanaspati? Te Vanaspatayah Prokta Vina Pushpaihi Phalanti. Vina Pushpaihi Ye Phalanti Te Vanaspatayah. Vina Pushpaihi Ye Phalanti Te Vanaspatayah. Those that bear fruits without flowering are called as Vanaspati. Those that bear fruits without flowering are called as Vanaspati. So without flowering, bearing fruits, Vanaspati. Then those that bear both flowers and fruits, Drumaschate Nigaditaha Saha Pushpaihi Phalanti Ye Pushpaihi Saha Phalanti Te Drumascha Nigaditaha. Druma means those that bear both flowers and fruits. Those bear both flowers and fruits are called as druma. Prasaranti pratanairya lata parikirtitaha. Those that are creepers, lata means creeper, those that are creepers. Prasaranti, that creeps, pratanaihi yataha lataha parikirtitaha. Bahustambha vitapinaha yete gulma prakirtitaha. Those that have many branches are called as the gulma. Gulma means those that have many branches. So in this way, four types of plant classification is being observed in Vriksha Ayurveda. The plants are also classified as Vanaspati, Vriksha, Virudha, Oshadhi. What is Vanaspati? What is Vriksha? What is Virudha? What is Oshadhi? Vanaspati. Vanaspati means the large trees or those that bear fruits without flowering. Those trees, the large trees or those that bear fruits without flowering are called as Vanaspati. Vriksha, trees or those that bear both flowers and fruits, they are the Vriksha. So the difference between Vriksha and Vanaspati. Next, Virudha. Virudha means herbs or those that are stemless and which creep or which spread out bushes. Virudha means herbs or those that are stemless and which spread out such as bushes. Virudha. Oshadhi. Oshadhi means medicinal plants or those that wither away once their fruits are ripened. The plants that wither away once their fruits are ripened are called as the Oshadhi. So like this, Oshadhi, Virudha, Vriksha, Vanaspati, this kind of classification is also being observed in our literature. In Manusmriti, we can see the 8 kinds of plant classification. Manu divided plants under 8 headings, that is Oshadhi, Vanaspati, Vriksha, Gucha, Gulma, Trina, Pratana, Valli. Vanaspati, Oshadhi, Vriksha, Gucha, Gulma, Pratana, Trina, Valli. So 8 kinds of 8 kinds of plant classification is being observed by Manu. Oshadhi means plants bearing abundant flowers and fruits, but withering away after fructification, such as rice, wheat, they're called as Oshadhi. Plants bearing abundant flowers and fruits, but withering away after fructification, such as rice, wheat, etc. Vanaspati means plant bearing fruits without evident flowers. Plants bearing fruits without evident flowers is a Vanaspati. Vriksha, trees bearing both flowers and fruits, they are called as the Vriksha. Gucha, they are the bushy herbs. Then Gulma means, according to Manu, it is the succulent shrubs. Trina means grasses. Pratana, creepers which spread their stems on the ground. Creepers which spread their stems on the ground, they are called as the Pratana. Valli, climbers and entwiners, Valli. So this is how Manu classifies plants. Then significance of trees in forests is also being observed in different texts. Sacred groves and sacred trees have been dealt with in great detail by the ancients. Sacred groves and sacred trees have been dealt with in great detail by the ancients. Modern ecologists warn that indiscriminate felling of the trees, indiscriminate cutting of the trees can lead to climatic changes, soil erosion, and can cause landslides and flash floods in mountains. Today we can see such things because of the man-made hurdles. So even modern ecologists warn that indiscriminate felling of the trees, cutting of the trees can lead to climatic changes, soil erosion, and can cause landslides and flash floods in mountains. In Skanda Purana, it is mentioned In different Puranas also we can get such instances, examples. Adau sarvam vrikshamayam purva vishwamajayata yeta vrikshaha mahashresthaha sarve devamsha sambhavaha. Adau sarvam vrikshamayam purva vishwam ajayata. Purva vishwam ajayata adau sarvam vrikshamayam. Etaha vrikshaha mahashresthaha. Etaha vrikshaha mahashresthaha. Sarve devamsha sambhavaha. So here in Skanda Purana, the significance of plants are highlighted, considering them as devamsha sambhava. You know, we consider deva as those who nurture us, who nourish us. Plants nourish us. Without plants, there is no our existence. Fauna depends on flora. So the significance of plants are highlighted, considering them as a devamsha sambhavaha. In the Padma Purana, as mentioned in Halai the question, trees were defined and the planting of trees extolled. In Padma Purana, trees were defined and the planting of trees extolled. Planting of the trees extolled. The one who plants a tree, the one who plants a tree which provides shadow, flowers, and fruits, useful to all beings, all creatures, will attain the moksha. Planting a plant is considered to attain the moksha, benefits for the moksha. As in Padma Purana says, the one who plants a tree which provides shadow, flowers, and fruits useful to all beings, all creatures, will attain the moksha. Yah puman ropayet vrikshan chaya pushpapalopaman Sarva sattopayogaya sayati paramam gatim. He will attain the paramagati moksha. Yah puman, that person, ropayet vrikshan, yah vrikshan aropayati, yah vrikshan ropayati, one who plants a tree, chaya pushpapalopaman, that gives chaya, pushpa and phala, shadow, flowers and fruits. Sarva sattva upayogaya, and useful to all the beings. Sarva sattva upayogaya. Sayati paramam gatim. He reaches moksha. He will attain the moksha. He goes to moksha. So much importance is given for planting the plant. And moksha is considered as one of the purushartha, chaturvida purusharthas. Dharmartha, mokshartham. All our activities are meant for dharmartha, kama and moksha. So here he says, the author says that by planting a plant which provides shadow, flowers and fruits useful to all beings will attain the moksha. In the Kurma Puranam, the felling of trees was considered as a great sin. The felling of a tree was considered a great sin by the Kurma Purana. Even the Vamana Purana also warns. Vamana Purana too warns. Chedanam vrikshajatinam dvitiyam narakam smritam. Vrikshajatinam chedanam dvitiyam narakam smritam. Cutting of the trees is equivalent to reaching naraka. So he said to go to the hell. Chedanam vrikshajatinam dvitiyam narakam smritam. Phaladhanam tu vrikshanam chedane japyam vrikshatam. If anyone cuts a tree which gives fruit, phaladhanam tu vrikshanam chedane, if one is cutting a vriksha which gives the phala, then he should japyam vrikshatam, he should make japa for 100 times. This is how Vamana Purana warns for cutting the tree. That means cutting the trees are prohibited They should be avoided. And cutting a tree is equivalent to going to Naraka. The person will go to Naraka. And moreover, if a person cuts a fruiting plant, then he should make japa for 100 times. Vrikshacheta vrathayastu sanadi vranavan bhave. See how a person who is cutting the tree is being cursed. Vrikshacheta vrathayastu. Vrathayaha tu vrikshacheta. The one who is cutting the tree without for no reason. If a person is cutting a tree for no reason, then sanadi vranavan bhavet. Sanadi vranavan bhavet. This is how he is being cursed. Vakshyami tat pratikara sarvaloka hitayatu. The importance of nurturing trees is emphasized in the Dhanakhanda of Subhashita Ratnabhandara, wherein it is mentioned, Dhanakhanda, Dashapupa samavapi dashavapi samo hrudaha dashakrida samaputraha dashaputra samo drumaha etad vicharya sudhiya paripalya vriksham yatnena veda vidhina parikalpaniyaha. Veda vidhina yatnena parikalpaniyaha. Kim vicharya? Etad vicharya sudhiya paripalya vriksham. One should protect the trees. Why? Because dashapupa samavapi dashavapi samo hrudaha dashahruda samaha putraha. Considering 10 lakes is equivalent to 18 putras, and dashaputra samo drumaha. Having 10 sons is equivalent to planting a tree. That much importance is given for planting the tree. Etad vicharya sudhiya, the one who is intelligent should think on this and then he should protect the trees. Paripalya vriksham. Yatnena veda vidhina parikalpaniya. This is how the importance of the trees are being mentioned. Then in Shantipurva of Mahabharata, logical reasons are given to prove the existence of life in plants. In Shantipurva of Mahabharata, logical reasons are given to prove the existence of life in plants. Mahabharata, as all of us know, Mahabharata is one of the oldest Mahakavya, one of the great epics, two epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So in Mahabharata, it is the reasons are logical reasons are given to prove the existence of life in plants. This truth was proved by modern science only as recently as the last century. So to quote the Shantipurva of Mahabharata, Ushmato mlayate parnam paphalam pushpamevacha. Ushmato mlayate parnam paphalam pushpamevacha. Ushmato mlayate. By heat, it fades. Which fades? Parnatva phala, pushpa. Leaf, skin, fruit, and flowers fade because of heat. So this fading takes place because of heat since they have the life. That is how logically Shantipurva of Mahabharata mentions. Vedavyasa mentions in Mahabharata. So here we can see the importance and also even in Manusmriti also it is mentioned that there is consciousness in trees. There is consciousness in trees. Tamasa bahurupena Veshtita karma hetuna antas samnya bhavantyete sukha dukkha samanvita. Manusmriti says, Tamasa bahurupena Veshtita karma hetuna antas samnya bhavantyete sukha dukkha samanvita. The trees are rendered immobile Trees are rendered immobile, given to their nature of birth. We all of us know that trees are immobile due to their nature of birth. Still, they are conscious. Antasamnya bhavanti yete. Why they are conscious? Because sukha dukkha samanvitaha, because they experience joys and sorrows. Since the trees are experiencing joys and sorrows, they have the consciousness. They are conscious. Antasamnya bhavanti. So trees are not free from the consciousness. They too have a consciousness. As per the Manusmriti. And also, even the plants have the consciousness. This is proved through some of the examples, such as due to Megha Garjana, Chatraka bombs. Due to Megha Garjana, Chatraka. This is Chatraka, it bombs. And also this Lajjalu. Lajjalu means touch me not plant. That shrinks when we touch, because it is having the sparshajna. When we touch, it closes, the leaves close. You would have observed it, touch me not plant. Then lotus, it reacts to the sunlight or sun movement. Lotus reacts to the sun movement of the sun. And also, trees take water through roots. Trees take water through roots. So they have the rasana. They take water through roots. Then leaves fade for heat or hot sunlight. So they can also react to the heat. So due to all these things, we can say firmly that trees have the life. Trees have consciousness. They have the life. We can also observe sentiments related to plants. The poignant picture of Shakuntala's departure from her beloved plants and animals makes us realize how close man was to his surroundings. Kalidasa had written Avijnana Shakuntalam. This is a famous kavya. Avijnana Shakuntalam is famous kavya, which is written by great Indian poet Kalidasa in Sanskrita. Kalidasa's Avijnana Shakuntalam is said to be the best among the natakas, dramas. Kavyeshu natakam ramyam tatra ramya shakuntala is a famous quote which mentions the importance of Avijnana Shakuntalam in Kavya Shastra. So there one shloka mentioned by Kalidasa in which he narrates Shakuntala's intimacy towards the nature. How she feels when she is departing from her hermitage, Kanwa's residence, to her husband's house. Patum na prathamam vyavasyati jalam yushma swapiteshu ya nadatte priyamandana bhavatam snehena ya pallavam adyevah kusuma prasuti samaye yasya bhavatyutsavah seyam yati shakuntala patigraham sarvairanujayatam. Kanwa requests the plants which are being reared by Shakuntala, watered by Shakuntala, very sentimental way. Patum na Prathamam Vyavasyati Jalam Yushma Swapiteshu Yam Nadatte Priyamandanapi Bhavatam Snehena Ya Pallavam Adyevah Kusuma Prasuti Samaye Yasya Bhavatyutsavah Seyam Yati Shakuntala Patigraham Sarvairanoඥāyata. He says, Patum Prathamam Vyavasyati Jalam Yishmasu Apitesha. Without watering the plant, she was not taking water. She was not drinking water in the early morning. She used to take water after watering the plants. Patum Prathamam Vyavasyati Yishmasu Jalam Apiteshu. Ya Shakuntala sa. Nadatte Priyamandana Vibhavatam Snehena Ya Pallavam. Even though she is very much fond of flowers, she was not plucking it because of love towards you. Adyeva Kusuma Prasuti Samaye Yasya Bhavati Utsavaha. When the plants they flower for the first time, she used to enjoy it. When the plants they flower for the first time, she used to enjoy it as a utsava, as a ceremony. Sa Shakuntala now she is going to Patigraha. Sarvaye Anujñāyatam. Let all of you give permission to her. This is how Karnva requests them. So in such sentiments were present even in olden days too. How the people are very much intimate, people are having the intimacy towards the plants. This is what we can observe. So the plant science, the botany is it is lively and it is a life science. It is a science of life, of plants, which is very much intimate to human life.
Recording in progress.
Sentiments in plants. How the human sentiments in nature, especially the plants, is very much nicely illustrated by sage Karnva in Avijñāna Shakuntala. At the time of departure of Shakuntala to her husband's house from the Karnva's hermitage, Karnva Ashrama. Even in another text of Kalidasa, Raghuvamsha, its 14th circle, 78th shloka. There also we can observe Payoghatairashramavala samvardhayanti swabalanurupai asamshayam prarthanayopapatte stanandhaya pritimavapsyasi tvam. Payoghatairashramavala samvardhayanti swabalanurupai asamshayam prarthanayopapatte stanandhaya pritimavapsyasi tvam. So Kalidasa is very nicely explaining the nature. Even in his Meghaduta, its very beginning, he says, Prakriti-Krupanas Chetana Chetaneshu. He is well expertized. He is expertized in bringing Chetanatva in Achetana Vastu. So nicely he is explaining that. He is bringing intimacy of nature with the human being. The importance of nature for us is very nicely illustrated. The science in the terms of Vedic literature is a source of all kinds of knowledge, knowable objects. for all kinds of the knowable objects, the science in the form of Vedic literature is the source. In the Rig Veda, there are references to plucking of ripe fruits, ripe branches, and ripe trees. A closer knowledge of the properties of the plants is terms of their bearing fruits and flowers, which may imply observation of trees, plants, is indicated when the Rig Veda refers to different categories of plants as Phalini, that is bearing fruits, Aphala, not bearing fruits, Apushpa, not bearing flowers, Pushpini, bearing flowers, Pushpavati, with blossoming flowers, and Prasuvari, having flowers. This is followed by the Atharva Veda, classifying plants as Pushpavati, Prasuvati, Phalini, and Aphala. The Shatapada Brahmana, in a long passage, graphically deserves the process of growing trees, sowing seeds in a pit, covering it, and then watering it on another passage of the same text. Doving of plants in both cultivated and uncultivated land is mentioned. There is some evidence to show that even the early Vedic period, there was a knowledge of the fertility of soil. There was a knowledge of the fertility of soil, of localities abounding in certain plants. The use of cow dung as manure, because animal husbandry and agriculture both are considered as Rashtrasya Netradvayamiva. The use of cow dung as manure, the need for watering the plants and crops, and of the cycle of seasons. We cannot be sure about the precise nature of developments in all their spheres and the extent to which they were applied to plants. So we cannot be very much sure about the precise nature of development in all their spheres and the extent to which they are applied to the plants. About some of the distinctive features of the Lecture-48 as a science in the absence of positive evidence. So, we don't know how the seeds were treated and the plants were nourished through fertilizing agencies and methods. The most important point in this respect is the recognition of the disorders of the plants with some regular methods for treating them. The most important point in this respect is the recognition of the disorders of the plants with some regular methods for treating them. The references in Shatapada Brahmana to plants withering and leaves falling off in winter and to berries in plants shrinking during summer and winter and growing during seasons imply the observations of a periodical nature, natural phenomenon, and not of any ailments of the trees. The most important point in this respect is the recognition of the disorders of the plants with some regular methods for treating them. The references in the Shatapada Brahmana to plants withering and leaves falling off in winter, and to berries in plants shrinking during summer and winter and growing during seasons, imply the observations of a periodical natural phenomenon, and not of any ailments of the trees. The Rig Veda speaks of wild animals destroying plants with their teeth. In Rig Veda also we can see the mentioning of wild animals destroying plants with their teeth. Even today also we can see the animals destroying the plants. Even the cultivated plants were also being destroyed by the wild animals, such as elephants or pigs, and so many other animals. They destroy the plants. The text also refers to Kalpana, a worm that destroys the leaves of trees. The Atharva Veda names a few insects and animals that destroy the crops. So at that time also they were aware of the insects, animals which destroy the crops, and it is being recorded in Atharva Veda. These include borer, look, shamanka, obnoxious insect, snapper, rodent. But the text does not prescribe any effective practical step to deal with them. So we can't see any practical step to deal with those animals. It merely records magical spells for destroying them. So magical spells for destroying them is being recorded there. Some scholars also mention the Atharva Veda lays down a charm system, whereas the drug system began with the Kaushika Sutra. As opposed to it, the assessment of G.P. Majumdar, so he is more appreciative of the contributions of the Atharva Veda. It is clear beyond all doubts that the science of medicine is revealed in the Atharva Vedic texts is far from being in a state of infancy. It represents a good deal of experiments and observations and seems to be based on a wide generalization. The medicinal use of plants in the Atharva Veda implies a close knowledge of the vegetable world. This knowledge is clearly traceable to the hymns in the Rig Veda. The Atharva Veda represents a multi-sided science. Atharva Veda represents a multi-sided science which included knowledge of plants. But the question still remains whether has the study of plants had assumed the form of a separate science. The question remaining is whether the study of plants had assumed the form of a separate science. Today we have the study of plants as a separate science, separate branch of science. The available evidence indicates that though elements of the plant science in a nascent form existed in the period of the Atharva Veda, or even earlier in the times of the hymns of the Rig Veda, it will be hazardous to infer that the science of Lecture-48 had acquired even a vague form. So anyway, the science in the terms of Vedic literature is a source of all kinds of knowable objects, and even about the different aspects of Lecture-48 we can observe in Vedas too, with different mentionings. The next we can see about the disease control in Sanskrit texts. Disease control methods were being mentioned in Sanskrit texts. So as it is already mentioned that the plants have life, they have the soul. That is why they get the diseases. They have the tridoshas. And the imbalance in the doshas causes the disease. So disease control in Sanskrit texts. Our ancient sages regarded plants equivalent to people, and they also have the soul. So the sages, they regarded the plants which are equivalent to the people, and they also have the soul, Atma. Manusmriti mentions Antasattva Samanvete Sukhadukha Samanvitaha. Antasattva Samanvete Sukhadukha Samanvitaha. So this is mentioned in Manusmriti. They have the Antasattva because they observe Dukkha and Sukha. Even when a plant cutter, he carries sword, the plants feel unhappy. That is why whatever is good for human health and cure, they have applied it to the plants also. For ancient people, ancient sages, they applied everything what is applied for the human health to plants too. The same methodology is being applied to the plants as what is being applied to man, human. Because our food, clothing, and shelter completely depends on plants. All of us know. Without plants, we have no existence. Our food, whatever the food we intake, even non-vegetarians too, those animals, they depend on the plants for their food. Anyway, plants are very much important for the food. Even the grains are required, vegetables, everything. Without plants, we don't have any existence. Even clothing, the cloths which are prepared from the plants, even the cotton. Cotton is also a plant. And shelter, we need to construct the house, means we need the plants. And even in our house surroundings, we need auspicious plants for everything to be auspicious, for healthy living, for better living. So our food, clothing, and shelter, it completely depends on the plants. They might have used these methods several times practically and successfully. The sages, they have used the method several times practically and successfully, and then they had recorded in the texts. And that is why those recordings are available even today after thousands of years. Otherwise, it would have vanished or extinguished. So we find the same suggestions in almost all the ancient texts with a little improvement in the treatment one after the other. We can see a little improvement in different texts, but the same suggestions are available for the plant treatment or disease control or the nourishment of the plants. Varaha Mihira, he gives a general treatment. Varaha Mihira gives a general treatment for plant diseases. Varaha Mihira. Even Kautilya also mentions about the seed treatment in Kautilya's Arthashastra, which refers to Vrikshayurveda. Kautilya's Arthashastra is referring to the Vrikshayurveda because the first occurrence of the term Vrikshayurveda is found in the Arthashastra of Kautilya. So it says that the director of agriculture, Krishi Nirdeshakaha, himself conversant with Krishi Tantra, that is practice of agriculture, Shulva, water divining, and Vrikshayurveda, or assisted by experts in this. So he should be expertised with all these things according to code. The director of agriculture himself should be conversant with practice of agriculture, water divining, Vrikshayurveda, or assisted by experts in these, and also he must collect the seeds of all kinds in the proper season. He should collect the seeds of all kinds in the proper season. The regular use of the science of Vrikshayurveda for the purpose of agriculture around 320 BC, that is the period of Kautilya, who lived during the period of Chandragupta Maurya, suggests that it was an established discipline. It was an established discipline during that period itself, and presupposes at least a century or two for its first formulation as a science, and presupposes at least for a century or two for its first formulation as a science. Kautilya says that in composing his treatise, he used all the Arthashastras available to him during that period and prepared by earlier scholars. He used all the Arthashastras available to him, which was prepared by the earlier scholars. The concerned chapter does not refer to any text or authority on Lecture-48. It does not refer to any text or authority on Lecture-48, but the systematic presentation of the material implies some source, either a regular text or information orally circulated. So in any case, the very form of the name Vriksha-Ayurveda suggests that its formulation as a discipline must have been some time after the usage of the term Ayurveda had been established. The very form of the name Lecture-48 suggests that its formulation as a discipline must have been sometime after the usage of the term Ayurveda has been established. It is also to be noted that the term does not occur in the Vedic literature. Two sutras in the Ashtadhyayi of Panini imply the formation of the term. Besides the Samhitas of Ayurveda themselves, the Mahabharata refers to Ayurveda and its 8 branches. In Kautilya's Arthashastra, the treating of seeds is very nicely mentioned. Tusharapayana mushnashoshanam cha saptaratraditi dhanya bijanam triratram pancharatram va koshidhanyanam madhughruta sukaravasabhihi shakrudyuktabhihi kandabijanam chedalepo madhughritena kandanam asthibijanam shakudalepaha shakinam gartadaho gosthishakridbhihi kaledo krudam cha. Kautilya says that soaking in dew by night, soaking in dew by night and drying in the heat by day. Tusharapayana mushna shoshanam cha saptarapraditi dhanya bijana. Soaking in dew by night and drying in the heat by day for 7 days and nights is a treatment in the case of seeds of grains, in the case of dhanya bijana. For 3 days and night, for 5 in the case of seeds of pulses. Triratram pancharatram va koshidhanyana. For 3 days and night, for 5 in the case of seeds for pulses. Smearing at the cut with honey, ghee and pig's fat mixed with cow dung in the case of stalks that serve as seeds. Madhu ghruta sukara vasabhihi shakrudyuktabhihi kandabijanam chedalepo. Kandabijanam chedalepo. Smearing at the cut with honey, ghee and pig's fat, mixed with cow dung in the case of stalks that serve as seeds. Smearing with honey and ghee in the case of bulbous roots. Smearing with cow dung in the case of stone-like seeds. Madhughritena kandanam asthibijanam shakadalepaha. Smearing with cow dung in the case of stone-like seeds, and in the case of trees, Shakhinam Gartadaho, in the case of trees, burning in the pit and fulfillment of the longing with cow bones and cow dung at the proper time. Shakhinam Gartadaho Gosti Shakridbhi Kale Dopadamcha. This is what Kautilya mentions about the sea treatment in his Arthashastra. So he is giving a very nice sea treatment. And those things even today also we can see the farmers following such ways for seed treatment. A region where the foam strikes the banks is suited for creeper fruits. Kautilya says that a region where the foam strikes the banks is used for creeper fruits. Regions on the outskirts of overflows for long creeper. Fenaghato Valliphalanam Parivahantaha Pippali Mridvikekshunam Kupaparyantaha Shakamulanam Haraniparyanta Haritakanam Palyo Lavanam Gandhaveshajyo Ushira Hibera Pindalukadina. For long pepper, grapes, and sugar canes, those on the borders of the wells for vegetables and roots, and on the borders of moist beds of lakes for green grasses, ridges for plants reaped by cutting, such as perfume plants, medicinal herbs, Ushira grass, Ribera, Pindaluka, and others. A region where the foam strikes the bank is suited. So Kautilya is saying that a region where the foam strikes the banks is suited for creeper fruits. Regions on the outskirts of overflows for long pepper, grapes, and sugar canes. Those on the borders of wells for vegetables and roots. Those on the borders of moist beds of lakes for green grasses, ridges for plants reaped by cutting, such as perfume plants, medicinal herbs, Ushira grass, Rivera, Pindaluka, and others. And on land suitable for each, we should raise plants that grow on dry lands and that grow in wetlands. Yathaswam Bhukamashucha Sthalyascha Anupyascha Oshadhihi Sthapayet. This is how Kautilya suggests in his Lecture-48. And even Kautilya says, even after the seed treatment, we are putting it for sprouting. Already we have seen the seed treatment methods as explained by the Kautilya. So he says then, when they were sprouted, when the seeds have been sprouted, the farmer should feed them with fresh acrid fish along with milk of snuhi plant. With the snuhi plant. Prarudhamscha pashushka katumapyamscha snuhikshirena payayeta. Snuhikshirena payayeta. Karpasasaram nirmokam sarpasya cha samahare nasarpas tatra tishtanti dhupo yatresha tishtati. Kautilya further says, the farmer should collect and burn the seeds of cotton and the slough of his serpent. Serpents do not remain where there is this smoke. So to avoid the serpent, he is giving some suggestion, that is, the farmer should collect and burn the seeds of cotton and slough of serpent, so that serpents do not remain where there is this kind of smoke. This is how the Kautilya suggests. Lecture-48 is a very vast subject, and in today's session we discuss some aspects of Lecture-48, and in coming sessions we shall discuss further on Lecture-48, the contributions of other great Indian ancient scientists such as Varahamira and then the Agni Purana, even Surapala, etc. They have contributed a lot for the Lecture-48. We can discuss it in coming sessions. Then also they mention about the disease control along with giving different aspects of plant life, promotion of plant life, nourishment of plant. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.